Hi, one and all. Hello, hello, and welcome to a presentation on a Venus Rahu or North Node conjunction, inspired, but of course, by the happenings of the internet. So, interestingly enough, I was contemplating a wonderful celebrities chart. And if you've come to the lives, you know I don't really give any credence to like celebrity dumb or famehood for many reasons we'll talk about in the future, but all the people that I would like squeal with delight over meeting are dead. Maybe a save for like a handful I would generally like just think are great, and one of them is Lana Del Rey, who's recently come out with some new music, and even prior to that, it's just getting me through a really difficult time because I just love her art so much. And I was pondering like why she doesn't get the credit she like really deserves, and so much of what she does and says and is really misinterpreted. And when I was doing the success charts, I remember doing the chart of one of those people, and I thought to myself, why are we even? I mean, it's a good chart, but I thought, forget this. This person's gonna have a baby, and like 18 months out, and in the second half of 2022, that's exactly what happened. And I thought maybe I should start doing this more often. It would just be fun. And I don't like doing that. If I do, I'll share it on Patreon. I won't share it like super publicly. And oddly enough, the very next day, as I was looking at her chart and this conjunction, because she has it, TikTok started exploding with some celebrity drama with Hailey Bieber and the like, okay? And I thought that's so funny because that's exactly what I was just thinking about all of yesterday and the day before. And it's happened to me before as well where I was thinking about conspiracy theorists. So my video, Conspiracy Theorists in Astrology Part 2, was brought on by my research into South Node and Saturn conjunctions. And I wrote down a few names, and 5 out of those 6 names, or 6 out, like all of them, had it. And I thought that's crazy. So obviously I made the video. So here we go. I'll make this video, and I won't concentrate too much on her today. I'll do a separate video of just her and what I think and all that. But for now, let's get into this. So what you need to know first and foremost is, hello, my name's Monica. Sorry, I should have said that first. Welcome to Guru Grit, a place for learning. And I want to make a place that's like astrology for astrologers, where you can come, research, talk, share ideas, grow together, okay? Co-create truly. And it's really important to know the meaning, deeper meaning of everything. Because if you're going to get a snapshot of what a person is like, you have to know deep meaning of the planet. So we know Venus is love and luxuries, but she's the condition of one's relationship. She rules a lot of things. If you've joined my Patreon, in the last month or two, I've put up a recent video on what Venus also means, and it's something you won't find like everywhere, but it's extremely telling. And it does have to do with like parenthood. So not something you would think, but it makes a lot of sense. So I'll get into that a little bit in this video. And Venus also rules sugar, okay, and pleasure. And it's Sunday, I'm chilling, I'm not feeling too great. So in the spirit of all Venusian things, I've made myself a beautiful hot chocolate from scratch, how I like. So if you hear me sipping and slurping, you'll just have to let it go because I'm human and it's just one of those days. But I really wanted to make this video. So Venus rules the condition of a relationship. So if she's doing well in your chart, chances are your relationships will be more stable. And if she's afflicted, not so much. This one is an interesting case because she's got quite a few aspects going on. And what is the North Node? Now, I have to like constantly debunk, I think, or dispel misconceptions, and I just get so tired doing it. The North Node rules the future. So the North Node is tied to electronics. It's not Mercury. Mercury retrograde, because, we have a few of those every year. If your cell phone breaks down, it's not because of Mercury retrograde. It's the communication breakdown. Look, what did people do before cell phones? What did their messenger pigeons just like die mid-flight? It's the communication that's blocked from happening or a little bit misunderstood or some such thing. But the North Node is actually electronics and the future. And the reason I bring this up when I open this first chart, I opened this video with her chart, is I was on TikTok. Oh my God, yesterday was bad enough. I had to get off the app. And then this morning, it's like the app triple, quadrupled, quintupled down on this like Hailey Bieber content. And I thought there was like screenshots upon screenshots. And I just found it so funny. And I thought that's really, really North Node-y because it's all stuff from like Instagram and Twitter and all this other stuff, and the use of technology and pictures. And I thought, oh, that's very, very, very telling, you know? So if you also watched my creativity and astrology series, you will see people who make good like filmmakers or in the arts for that reason when the North Node falls into a specific sign. So, I mean, here through the use of technology, we've got a lot of rumors and things. So what's going on? I mean, honestly, first and foremost, I don't really know and I don't really care, but from what I've been able to gather, the chart matches that. All right, and here is why. The North Node rules confusion. The North Node rules fog. So when it comes in contact with another planet, it essentially is corrupting it. The only planet that kind of stands a chance would be Jupiter. I'll do a separate video on that. With Venus, it clouds. It clouds. It's confused. It's foggy. You suffer from like Disney princess syndrome or Disney villain syndrome or some such thing. You are not really clear. All right? It's not really clear what's going on in your relationship or how it came to be. Making sense? A lot of dates crossing over. He said, she said. Who really knows, you know? You can expect that sort of thing. Now, obviously, we've got also Saturn in play here with the moon. So a lot of things, I mean, are very punishing. I don't necessarily find this to be the happiest of charts. But this is why I want to do it separately, just because there's a lot going on. It's not just this one little thing. It's a lot of things that are not really in favor of being happily disposed in partnership. And actually, I believe she said in an interview that marriage is really hard work. Marriage is very, very hard. Not to be, you know, I'm not insensitive. I feel people suffering. We all suffer. I think we all suffer in equal measure, but in different ways. That's why we come to Earth. But you're young and you're wealthy. You know, what do you mean marriage? Marriage is hard and you're healthy. You can make anything you want out of life, right? But you can see someone that's just been dealt a hand that they suffer a lot. All right? They're very hard on themselves. They feel deprived. They're deprived of nourishment. They're deprived of having an individuality that is pleasing to them somehow. The reason is, again, we'll do separate video. I mean, go watch my Saturn Moon conjunction video. It will tell you a lot. But also kind of struggling maybe to stand out. And I could see that because I'm not being like disrespectful or talking down or anything like that. But I didn't know who this was. I had no idea. I literally, the first time I saw a photo, I thought someone photoshopped hair on her dad. Like, I didn't know that he had a daughter. They looked identical, like copy paste. So I was like, who even is that? I thought it was a prank. Like, you know, Poot Lovato, when that was a thing, that's what I thought happened, okay? I was like, oh, no way, that's crazy. But I believe she's spoken about being like a ballerina and all this, and you can really see that in the chart, okay? A very like high-strung sort of perfection-driven, needing to have, needing to possess and all that. And what's interesting also, I just want to go out a little bit of the scope of North Node Venus, is this, so if ascendant is Sagittarius, the opposite is going to be Gemini, which we would look to find spouse, and it is Mercury, and he is debilitated. So there's just a lot, you know, and Jupiter is the husband for the woman, that's also debilitated. So it's generally like a trashed chart for love. It's just not good. So you can tell right away, if you saw the chart of someone like this wanting to get married, you would kind of tell them to leave it in God's hands and to sort of, you know, one of the, I suppose like a tenet of an astrologer should be that they have a sense of devotion to serve and to serve our maker. And I would advise this person, you know, in this spirit of humanity, is to really, really turn to your faith and let things go. Let them play out as they should. I do not encourage early marriage for this chart, and she was married early, so it's going to be a little bit rocky. And I said that, she mentioned that in an interview, that marriage is hard. And, you know, it's a matter of maturity. Like if you watch on my Patreon video recently, I did all sidereal on delayed marriage, and the reason is a lack of maturity. So if a person lacks maturity, you know, they can't really appreciate or understand how to navigate life, so naturally it's not going to bring them a lot of pleasure. They're just generally discontented. So it's not that you can't get married early, you shouldn't get married early, But if it's been done, well, you look to the next best thing, which is, hey, how do we deal with this, right? And then we just keep it moving. Now, if you want to know, how to tell that they should marry later, then I have other videos up about that. But you see, this is perfect timing because the nodes are about to enter Aries and Libra, and all this stuff is coming to light. So she's about to experience a nodal return, and halfway, halfway. But it's at the halfway mark for her, and well, what really went on when they met, whatever the truth is, we don't know, do we? Because I said it's confusing and it's foggy. She would know. Maybe a small group would know. I don't know. And, even if it came to light, who cares? So here's another one I found really funny. So Henry Cavill, and this is so funny to me because he's got perfect conjunction, okay? Perfect. So if you look here, Venus and the North Node are exactly conjunct to the degree. This is highly distressing, and she's not in a particularly strong sign. She's not really powerful in Gemini. And what's interesting to me is I remember and also he's got Jupiter South Node conjunction. So we'll talk about that in another video. But I remember seeing him in the Tudors and thinking, okay, I'm not blind, okay? Like, I know he's good looking. Like, I'm not a complete moron. I was like, wow, I said that guy's gonna be a star. Like, I could just tell then that he would ascend, like he would just shoot to the top. And he did. Like, he was signed to do the Superman movies or something like that. Superman. And he's very, very famous, very successful, etc. Okay. What's interesting to me is he's always had these partners that people kind of took issue with. So the first time I went, ooh, better cast his chart, this is like a red flag, was years ago when he was in, I think, 30 or 31, and he was dating a first year or second year university student, I believe. So something, I don't remember her name. I think her last name was King, but he dated a university student who was a teenager. And people were like, whoa, that's wow. And I thought that's unorthodox. So you're going to get a sense of unorthodoxy when a conjunction like this occurs. And his is very powerful because to the exact degree. And even if it wasn't her, I think he dated Jillian Michaels and someone else. And people always sort of had like something to say, like these women were older, or they were not good enough, or they were too young, or they were not beautiful, or they were, or they're too average. It's like, so it's so weird, like this projecting that's going on. Sometimes you can like attract that as well. So even if you marry someone, you're really happy with them and you love them inside and out, it just seems like somebody will have something to say, as we saw in the previous chart for Hailey Baldwin Bieber. Someone always has something to say. So once again, quite confusing. And then another thing was, thanks to TikTok for opening my world to celebrity culture, was people who were like, oh, I worked as a production assistant on a set, and everybody knew not to let the younger people near him because he has a thing for younger women. Allegedly, I'm not trying to get sued, okay? Apparently, allegedly, he likes them young. So if I open the chart and I say, oh, I saw that years ago, there's trouble, okay? Where there's smoke, there's fire. Something's allegedly off with something like this. It's a little bit hidden, and it's unorthodox, okay? So we'll keep this moving as fast as I can. Does this need an explanation? Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown's chart is very, very interesting. All right, so we've got South Node with Jupiter. And remember that Jupiter has a bit to do with our morals. And he is he's not doing too good, okay? He's pretty weak. We also have Venus in like a really mean sandwich here. She's being pushed on by Saturn and by the North Node, and she's debilitated by Aries. This poor planet has absolutely no reprieve. Venus is women in general. He generally, you could say, just generally speaking, will just not be good to women. You see something like this in a chart, and his chart ruler is Saturn, and he's debilitated, okay? This is a disturbed individual. Moon in Virgo, also a little bit erratic. But generally, you put this all together. I'm not saying that if someone, has the same chart like this, that they're going to be violent or whatever, but you should really, really wait to find a partner, understand yourself, and so forth. But we know famously he was married to Whitney Houston, and he was a very abusive partner. Kylie Jenner. All right, I don't know much about the Kardashians. I know my friend Jenna absolutely loves them and knows like everything about everything, but I don't feel any type of way about Kylie Jenner in particular. However, what I do remember, I was doing this presentation and I thought, "Oh, you know what, I don't want to do her." But then I remember from years ago, something really stood out to me. And I cast the chart today for the first time and saw this. So perfect. The intuition is on point. Now, what is the significance of her having a North Node Venus conjunction? So she did a shoot with her partner, I think, in the last year or so. And I think she had their second child, or she was pregnant with their second child, something like that. And interestingly enough, Venus for her is in Virgo in a critical degree. And Virgo is the sign of the maiden. This is the sign of a girl, someone who's pure. It's the virgin. So someone who doesn't know a lot about life. They're green, right? They need a lot of like protection and guidance. They're just generally uninformed in a lot of ways, So, and anyway, in that shoot, I think something to the effect of like modern love was the title, and there was a lot of backlash. People were saying, "You're glorifying baby mama culture and it's easy for you. You're a billionaire. Don't encourage these young girls who look up to you. Like, stop repackaging this, like whatever, whatever." And I was thinking about that and I was like, yeah, that's unorthodox, let's say, to have children out of wedlock, even in 2023, some people would say. But then I went back farther, and this is the part that really got me with this conjunction was she had like a boyfriend she was really public with, Tyga, and I remember back then I was invested in that because there was an age difference where I think she was a minor, she was underage, and I believe he was in his 20s at the time, and that really ruffled some feathers. So people were really questioning, like, are they keeping things above board until she turns 18 or whatever, or are they not? And how do we really know? And some people say, no way, what would like a 20-something-year-old wait around for? Some people are saying, yeah, that's honorable, blah, 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 blah. But once again, with this conjunction, we don't really know, okay? So they would know, and even if we found out, it's like, well, it's in the past now, so what do we even do with that, okay? There's other things in the chart as well to indicate some difficulties and issues around romance and such things. But for now, we'll just stick to the unconvention of it. And another thing, speaking of which, is I believe her current partner has, I think this was again thanks to TikTok. I've been steadily entertained for 2 years. But he had a partner apparently that he's been with for a very long time. And he just had this like public relationship with Kylie, but this other lady he was always like with. So they were saying she's not the side piece, actually the Jenner is, And that goes hand in hand because again, Venus is debilitating. It's someone who just doesn't like understand the gravity of something or isn't very experienced. But this is a thing you earn your experiences in life. And for some people, it's like financial literacy. For others, it's love. For others, it's self-esteem or issues with parents or seeing the world or being cultured or learned, whatever, right? So she's very good in other aspects, but in this one thing, just a little bit like has blinders or like herself is blind to the fact that, this arrangement maybe isn't beneficial for her, and she'll come to see that in time. And if it is, then thank God, all is good. Okay. But do you see how we're getting closer and closer to all the ways that this conjunction can sort of give you an unorthodox situation? Now we have Mackenzie Phillips, which if you don't know who that is, look it up. Very, very prominent family, very, very famous person. So here we go back to what I was talking about recent video I did on Patreon in regards to family. Venus is once again very close conjunction to the North Node. And what's significant about this is she's gone on interviews. I remember as a child, I saw an interview with her where she said that her father had sexually assaulted her. It was something like shortly before her wedding, she woke up in the night to find that her father was taking advantage of her. And she mentioned it to a few months later. And he said, "What do you mean rape you? We made love," apparently. And this was like very, very devastating to her. And it resulted in a pregnancy, the incestual rape, and then a subsequent termination. So then the father went on to marry and remarry, and those subsequent wives said that it was all made up. Mackenzie Phillips, one of her sisters had said, I remember a phone conversation of her telling me something about that. So like, did it happen? Did it not? Is it real? Is it not? You see, like already this is like a minefield. This is a nightmare. And what you will see also is, apart from unorthodox relationship situations, unorthodox partners, you will also see multiple relationships. So this one's very, very obvious, because if something like that happened to anyone who was like, um, within their right mind, would not be okay. This is very serious, right? And she's been married, I believe, like she's had 3 marriages and other partners. So, settling into yourself after something like that is very, very hard, right? So you would need to kind of understand the whole scope of what the planets indicate to see how that plays out. But, um, it's very tragic. And so I'm not saying everybody who has Venus North Node would be taken advantage of or be the instigator, the perpetrator of sexual assault, but um, definitely it's not like very clear cut. Like I said, you could have unorthodox arrangements. Like honestly, if it was an Aquarius, I wouldn't be surprised if people were married with kids but kept separate houses or something. They just don't want to do what everyone else is doing, okay? But this chart is a lot. We can go into a lot of stuff. We're just going to move on. Okay. Okay, speaking of unorthodoxy and happiness in relationships, we arrive at Bollywood legend icon Guru Dutt. So Guru Dutt was an actor, filmmaker. He pioneered a lot of things in terms of like cameras, like shots, how they pan in, and mood. He was able to convey mood very well, like especially lower moods or sadness, melancholy, and then loveliness. But he was known for his perfectionism and intense like work ethic, but having a lack of structure in his personal life. So he's got, Venus exactly conjunct Mercury, and not far behind there is the North Node, and then a little bit farther ahead is Mars. So Venus Mars, just in general, makes an incredibly like enthusiastic individual, quite passionate, okay, quite fiery, I would say. And what's fascinating is, okay, so he was born, for context, we don't have an ascendant, but you see, we're just looking at that and that makes sense, is he was born in 1925. So by unorthodox, here's one thing. He met a singer in the industry and he only had one marriage, okay? So you're thinking, how's that unorthodox? But she's 5 years older than him. So while the North Node and Venus doesn't necessarily convey an age difference, like it's not what my mind would default to, you can see that it can give something that's a little bit like uncommon. Okay, so if the man is 5 years older than the woman, we usually let it, like we don't even make mention of it. But if it's the other way around and you're both in your 20s, I think people would make mention of it. Okay, so the wife was 5 years his senior. Then they had a lengthy engagement. It was 3 years. So 3 years might not seem like a long time to some people, but if it was like if it was like the 50s or something, then maybe it seems that way. And the reason is that their families were both opposed to them getting together. Aha. So once again, we bring in the family element, don't we? On top of that, though they were each other's only marriage, it was an unhappy marriage. It was a very unhappy marriage. They did produce, I think, 3 children. Don't quote me on that. So they had children. And what's interesting is she passed away rather young. She was 41 when she passed away from drinking. She had liver damage and she passed. He followed suit. So he died at the age of 39. He was a heavy drinker and then he was restless. He took some sleeping pills, probably, let's hope, unintentionally, and passed away in his sleep. His children then bounced around between his one brother and maternal and paternal uncles and lived with them and were brought up. But you can see that it's overwhelming, right? When there's too much going on, even if it's a nice quote unquote planet, it can overwhelm. So in this sense, we have the age difference, the family position, the length engagement, and then the actual condition of the marriage was just a complete wreck. Okay, so it was not a happy marriage. And that's very unfortunate, but you can see obviously incredible scope for talent, incredible scope for creativity, and very like just to put out good work, okay? Jared Leto, enough said. Okay, then we come to Cher. Like, I absolutely adore Cher. I think her personality is like so cool and entertaining, and she's a very intelligent woman. Just something about her is very liberating. And speaking of age differences, she's got North Node Venus in the 12th house, which is the house of loss, which is very unfortunate because, one of her great loves, Sonny Bono, he did pass away. So I think she was really distraught over that. But she does tend to lean toward having, she doesn't like, she's very open-minded when it comes to her partners. You'll usually see a really large age gap or something like that. And I mean, people might be asking, what about Madonna? Like, she has some variation of something that would indicate that. Actually, much more strongly. We'll do that in a separate video. But very, very good example, okay? And again, it gives a lot of partners and unconventional partners, so unorthodox. Okay, I was just kidding. Okay, let's go back to Jared Leto. So I don't know too much about him, actually. I did watch Requiem for a Dream a bunch of times. It like scarred me, but I can't stop watching it. So I always just have this like metallic taste in my mouth when I think about anybody except Jennifer Connelly, who I adore, from that movie. I'm just like scared to death. So I remember back in the day, he dated like Lindsay Lohan for a hot minute. And they have quite, like, she's older than me. So I thought their age difference was like crazy because I was like so young. But again, unorthodox. I don't know if he's ever been married. I don't think so. I don't think he's married now, but he has a reputation for some eccentricities and such things, so once again, you can see that, like, who else did he date for a minute? It was like Halsey, which is like a huge age difference, but again, you can see unorthodox partners, etc. Okay, Katie Segal. If you watched Married with Children growing up, firstly, I commend you. Of great taste. She was Peg Bundy. Peggy, absolutely love her. She does the voice of Futurama. She's been in tons of stuff. She's one of the few people in the spotlight I just get very good energy from. So, of course, how could you not love her? So, interesting thing about her, she has this conjunction, as you can see, and very close, okay, 2, almost 3 degrees apart. And she's been married 4 times. Okay, she's like a partner. She's had 4 marriages. And this one kind of ties in a little bit of everything. So remember when I was mentioning family and all that, and fertility, Venus has to do with that. That's on my Patreon. I made that video in depth. 2 actually, I have 2 videos. But she is now married to someone who is 7 years younger than her. Okay, not groundbreaking age difference. Like, who cares? But, and the older you get, age differences become like less of a matter. But what's interesting is it kind of checks every box of this conjunction. So, married multiple times, check. Okay, husband is 62, she's 69, check. And then because the North Node has to do with fertility, as I mentioned, Venus, and the North Node has to do with the future, all right? So you're looking at things like IVF, fertility treatments, and so forth. And so she has a child with her now husband, who's a teenager, around 15, 16 years old, born in 2007, that was carried by a surrogate, so through surrogacy. And she was 54 at the time. So that's just not like quote unquote like conventional, right? It's thinking outside the box, living your life in the moment, brought this beautiful child into the world, you're enjoying your life. But if you've got this convention, someone's gonna have something to say, okay? But I think it's lovely, and I'm sorry for all her previous hardships, but let's hope it's a happy ending and it's a good life. So just making sure I included everything for everyone I did. Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye. Almost. I want to include honorable mentions. So I did this video all in tropical astrology. And the last video I did on Patreon for delayed marriage, that was all sidereal because I'm just trying to like make everyone happy. So I do, a little bit of everything because we're here to learn. So why single out anything? And honorable mentions, I will add, a lot of Western astrologers, if something is within orb, so within 3 degrees to either side, even if it bumps into another house and pops into another sign, it will still have an effect. This is the belief, okay? So honorable mentions will be Elvis Presley. And that makes perfect sense because Priscilla Presley was, I think, 13, 14 when they met. They said that they didn't marry till she was like, or consummate their marriage, sorry, till she was a relationship. She was 21, he was 32. But a 10-year age gap, all right? And that will really satisfy that requirement. got a lot of attention. Of course, people have a lot to say about it. But, and that's one of those things, you know, in his Western chart, if you cast it in sidereal, it would come up with a conjunction. So we have to honor that. And honorable mention, very, very, very good example. Boris Johnson, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Again, same thing as Elvis, right? If you check it in his tropical, it'll be with an orb. If you pop it into sidereal, you get a full-blown conjunction. Okay, so he was married and apparently, allegedly, okay, I've heard that, you know, struggled to be faithful, had multiple lovers. And one of the things that came up a lot in the media was he doesn't even know how many children he really has. He has multiple love children. So the number is a bit of a mystery. It's a bit of a blur. So for Venus North Node conjunction, that's pretty textbook. Again, it's this illusion, it's this secrecy, it's this fog. You don't know what's real, you don't know what isn't. Maybe that man doesn't even know how many kids he's got walking around. And another thing to do with convention is his partner. I think her name's Carrie Simmons. I think they're married now, but when he was prime minister, I think they were like the first to not be married. So she was like a first lady that wasn't a wife. So like, what duties does she get? Like, how do you approach that? Like, that's like, see, that's like the future. It's like progressive. That's very, very North Node. They got married and they have a 27-year age gap. 27-year age gap. And on record, he has, that we know of, he has 7 children. All right. So that's very, very telling of Venus North Node. So I hope you enjoy these honorable mentions. Pretty cool, pretty interesting. We'll go more into it because it's like still February, month of love. I want to do like more Venus videos and things like that. I wanted to do happy ones, but you know, I've been influenced by TikTok. What can I say? It is what it is. I hope you enjoy. I wish you all the best for the rest of the month. And as always, I love you all, and bye-bye for now.